Yes, you are live. I done tickled myself. I have tickled myself. Uh, you are live right here with a good fight. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your guide, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. I just realized something. Let me greet first. Sawubona to you on this night. This is February 13th in 2024. I was about to say in the year of our Lord. It is really hard to uproot all of this stuff that has been so deeply entrenched in us by one means or another. And I'm really working hard. I'm really working hard. And y'all are helping me. Sawubona, in the spirit of oneness, the spirit that says we are bound together inextricably. Bound together. Like there's nothing that you can do to disconnect from me. There's nothing that I can do to disconnect from you because we are humans and we are bound by that humanity. And so that is what the oneness of Sawubona is all about. And so Sawubona is an invitation for you to bring the whole of who you are into the space so that you can be seen, so that you can be heard, so that you can be respected, so that you can be celebrated, so that you can be honored, so that you can just breathe, so that you can just be, right? Like that's what the Sawubona says. And the Sawubona says, well, whoa, we want it to be reciprocal. So just as I see all of you, I want you to see all of me. So that ought to be okay. That both of us bring the whole of who we are and we learn how to contend with that. Because all of what I bring as a Black woman runs like counter to all of what you bring as an Asian man or Pacific Islander gay person. Like all of that is gonna, our lived experiences make us who we are. They help to shape and mold who we are. And they give us what we need to be able to see each other beyond the differences that folks are trying to make us focus so hard on. But yeah, so in the spirit of that oneness of Sawubona, in the spirit of that humanity, in the spirit in the spirit of celebration of selves, you are welcome in this space. Thank you so much for your presence in this space as we are on this journey, pursuing, seeking, chasing after this pure and raw Jesus, this unconstructed Jesus, this Jesus that does not have all the trappings that indoctrination has programmed us to believe have to be a part of the relationship. So that's what we've been doing since the beginning of this year. We are on chapter 5, and I'm excited about it. If this is your first time, thank you to those of you who said to me that you have shared this space with other folks, told them to jump on, see what it's all about. I really appreciate the shout out from you. I appreciate your confidence in the conversation, confidence that it will do something. It might make a person say, yes, I want to hear more about that. So I'm going to come back next week. Another person might say, I don't want to hear any more about that. Let me go do some research. Let me see what she's talking about. And so however it works, I am glad about it. So thank you for that. If this is your first time joining us for the Good Fight, there are ways in which you can engage. One of those ways is to find yourself in the stories that are being shared with you on this night. The stories that come from me, the stories that come from the people who show up in the comment space. Any way that you, any avenue that you use to figure out where you are in this, instead of thinking about, oh, this reminds me of so-and-so, I need to call my cousin and tell them this. Where are you? How are you showing up in this story? What character, what role do you play? Do you play all of them? Have you played one before? Like, how does this affect you, impact you? Another way that you can engage is to look through a window where even though you might try very hard to find yourself reflected in the story, you can't. Like, it's not your story. It's not your lived experience. You don't know anything about it. And so then you have now the opportunity to receive the gift of someone else's story, someone else's lived experience that they are sharing with you. And you have no responsibility there. No one's going to hold you accountable for remembering the story, for using the story, story, for applying the story. Like, there's nothing for you to do except receive it. The story is freely given, so you can receive it freely as well. Now, the spirit might be at work in you that causes you to do something with the story, but there's no agenda here around the story other than you receive it as the gift that it is. And then the third way that you can engage is to walk through a door. So beyond this moment, after the session is over at 8 o'clock, when I hit end stream and I leave the studio, then how is this conversation living inside of you? Does it continue to live? What does it ask you to do, prompt you to do, nudge you to do? And whether or not you actually do it, that's a choice that you'll have to make, but you can still feel the conversation working in your body. That's walking through the door. And finally, you can comment in this space as well. You can send a comment, and because of StreamYard, I can post it on the screen and everybody can see it, and we can engage it or not. We probably will. I think I engaged all the comments. But it just dawned on me today, y'all, sometimes I wonder about my mind. I don't know why I just thought about this today, but you don't have to comment. You can actually come on screen and have a conversation with me and with everybody. You can actually, make your comment. Instead of typing it, you can come on and let your voice be heard. And you can say, even if you want to leave your camera off, we can hear your voice. Or if you want us to see your face. So I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think to do that before. So I have included the link to the StreamYard right here in the comments. And so you should be able to click on it. It'll show up on my side. It'll tell me to add you to the stage, and we can bring you right onto the camera, right into the space for other people to enjoy the conversation in a different way. We enjoy the conversations when you write them, so no one is saying don't write if that's what you want to do. But I completely forgot to offer you an entirely different way to be in relationship with the good fight. So next time, I'm going to try my best to remember from now on to also include it on the Facebook when I send out the flyer, to also include it there, and to also include it in the description for the good fight. Like, all of the different ways I can think of to let you know you are welcome to join us with your voice and with your face, and or with your face. We would, however you want to show up. There used to be a song, or I don't know if it's a song, but we used to say it, any way you bless me, I'll be satisfied. So any way you grace us with your presence, we absolutely will be satisfied. I have said this, and I will continue to say this, that the good fight, the way that it is structured, it is not necessary for you to be here every single week, because you're not going to miss anything, because I'm going to take the time at the beginning of the session to recap, to summarize what has happened in the previous weeks. So because I'm taking that time to do that, you don't have to feel like you have missed something. You don't have to wait until this book is over before you start listening in or joining in. That's not necessary. So you don't have to show up every single week, nor do you have to show up live. Like, I'm live right now, but this is going to post to my Facebook page. It's also going to post to my YouTube channel, which is Just Talk with Dr. Denise, JUST 1TALK, with, and it has the little slant sign / with Dr. Denise. So here we are, looking for, in search of, pursuing, chasing after a Jesus that does not require anything of us that we have been taught to believe that being in relationship requires us to go to church, requires us to give tithes, requires us to pray, requires us to praise and worship. It requires us to give of our time and our energy and our effort and our resources, whether they are financial or whether they are in groceries, like sundries, like however we give, we are like that is a necessary requirement of the relationship. We're saying no, that's not what this is about. This is looking for a pure raw Jesus that does not come with any strings attached. Ain't no heaven or hell you got to worry about. It's no judgment, no stigma if you don't go to church, if you miss church, like none of that. So this is, I'm looking for a relationship that is relevant to my life, that is life-giving for me, that is not motivated by fear, that is not inspired by some reward. It is me, it is Jesus, it is us together trying to work this thing out. What is this thing called life? Just trying to navigate what it means to be human for such a time as this, in the climates that we are living in the political climate, in the social climate, in the economic climate, and just in all of these, in the religious climate that we are living in. How do we navigate in such a way that our relationship with Jesus shows up so that we are able to do the things that we believe that we are called to do, to transform this world, to leave this world better than we found it. And so where we started, and I will continue to confess that this is my journey. I just need help with it. Okay, I was just talking to somebody the other day, talking about how you really cannot see yourself unless you are in relationship with somebody else. We think we know ourselves. We think we understand ourselves. We think we have it all together. We think we figured ourselves out. We think that we've journeyed to the point that we get it. We get us, we get ourselves. But really, unless you are in relationship, you don't know as much about yourself as you think you know, because it takes the other person. I don't really care what kind of relationship it is. I'm not talking about a romantic relationship, just being in relationship with a person where you build to that trust. You build to the point that you trust what it is that they say to you. As a matter of fact, you seek out wisdom and counsel for them because of how much you trust that what they say is intended to help you be the very best version of that you can be in this particular season of your life. And when I say this season, it's because of where you are now in terms of lived experiences, because where it's so easy for us to say, well, if I, reflecting on my life now, if I could go back, I would do this, that, and the other. Well, you know what? That might be a helpful exercise for some folks, but I don't really think it's fruitful because you can't go back. Okay? And even if you did go back, then you would not have the knowledge and the information that you have now. So you wouldn't be able to apply it. So yeah. So for this season now, when you are in relationship with someone else and you have the kind of trust that says, I want you to help me see me. I mean, you don't say that, but it happens. You're having conversation and somebody say, wait, did you hear what you just said? Or do you notice you came in here and whatever it is, you are able to reflect back to them how they are showing up in spaces, and then give them the opportunity to choose whether or not to do something about it. That's up to them. But I do think that we have a responsibility if we say that we love somebody, which I don't say callously. If I say I love you, then that means that it is an unconditional love that I want to offer freely because I care. Point blank, period. Unconditional because I care. Not because I'm going to get something, not because I'm worried about something, not because I have an agenda, just because I care. And so if we are going to be in that kind of relationship, then the opportunities will present themselves for us to help each other see and hear more about ourselves. And so this is me on a journey, and I need you to help me, because in relationship with you, then I am trusting that you want to contribute to this journey because it is a sacred one. Absolutely. So at the beginning, the first question was talked about the changing of names. When you change a person's name, you change that person's story. And sometimes it may be that it's good to change the name so that we can actually honor the root of where the story came from. And that's what happened to us when we were talking about Jesus at the very beginning, because Jesus was not created, well, I don't even want to use that language. Jesus did not show up for us initially as God. And Jesus showed up as a revolutionary. Jesus showed up as a change agent. Jesus showed up as a community organizer. And then somewhere along the way, we decided, we being humans, we decided that, oh my goodness, this is our Messiah. This is the one who has come to save us. This is our Christ. And so we then attached that name to him, Jesus Christ, Jesus who is the anointed one, Jesus who is the one who will save us, Jesus, the King of the Jews. Like that is that's the name that we gave Jesus. So if we allow Jesus to be who Jesus was destined to be, as one who comes alongside us to help us see how to live into the newness of a world that is not trapped by systems of domination and oppression and exclusion, then that will change how we relate to Jesus. And so instead of Jesus being the second person of the Trinity, instead of Jesus being God, instead of Jesus being God incarnate, then Jesus now becomes partner. Jesus now becomes accomplice. Jesus now becomes ally. And so shifting the relationship so that Jesus is not one that I have to bow down to, is not one that I have to worship, is not one that I have to reverence in a way that is sacred and will get me, is in my doorway into heaven, then that changes how I respond to Jesus, and it changes how I live into myself more fully. And I want to go back. I was thinking about this as I was talking, and so I was throwing myself off a little bit when I said we don't have to think about Jesus as incarnate. What I should have said was that we don't have to think about Jesus as the only one who is God incarnate. Incarnate meaning in the flesh, God who appears in the flesh. So I don't want to take that away from Jesus, that Jesus is God incarnate. You can still believe that. I'm not asking you not to. It's just that if you believe that Jesus is God incarnate, the Spirit of God made manifest in flesh, then it is an opportunity for you to make room that you too are God, because we are the Spirit of God that's manifested in flesh. We are in the enfleshed spirit of the Most High. Whoever you call the Most High, whether you call the Most High Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, doesn't matter to me. Whatever that Most High is that guides your life, that shapes your convictions, then you are that God in the flesh. So Jesus would not be the only one who is that person. So Phyllis Brown says, John 3:16-18. 16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his son into the world. Verse 17 begins, for God did not send his son into the world. How did we humans choose Jesus to believe our leader? I think she means, how did we choose Jesus to believe in as our leader? For God so loved the world that he gave his own one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his son into the world. How did we humans choose Jesus to believe in as our leader? I think that this is the same. I think it's the same process that people have used for every religion, where some human decides that they have some kind of encounter that is supernatural, that is beyond what they are able to explain with the language of the day. They don't know how to explain it. There are no words. There's something that happens in their body that they believe is not just a supernatural experience, not just the presence of something bigger than they are, but a supernatural experience that's bigger than they are, that they believe they are supposed to share with the world. So this happened to me, and now I want you to know, because I am now convinced as a result of this experience that God, whoever your God is, God has called me to do something that will change the way the world is right now. And I think that happened when I think about Scientology. When you think about Scientology, I can't think of the man's name. If I had not said Scientology, his name would have just rolled off my tongue. But the man who started Scientology, he believed that he had this experience. When you think about the Jim Joneses of the world, when you think about All of these, even when you think about the Dalai Lama, even when you think about Mahatma Gandhi, how we put our faith in these people that we believe have this uncanny ability to be in touch with a spirit that is greater than us, and then they share their story with us, and we choose to believe it, and then we begin to follow it. I think that's the same thing that happened with Jesus. Somebody said, you know, that one that they say was crucified, you remember him? I believe, right? And then they tell the story in a way that taps into the emotions of people. I mean, preachers do it every Sunday. Like, why is it that we follow some preachers and don't follow others? Why do we follow some denominations and don't follow others? Somebody had an experience that they then shared with us that tugged on our heartstrings, our spirit strings, our soul strings in some way, and now we are hooked. And we believe, and we are now followers of whatever it is that they say. And so that chapter 1 was about saying, no, Jesus is the one who walks alongside us. We are side by side in relationship, both doing the work of transforming this world so that it is rid of any system that denies humans the opportunity to reach the height of their potential, of their creative potential, of their innovative potential, of what they decide that they want to do with their own lives. And then we moved from that to say, okay, well then if Jesus is not going to be God, if Jesus is not a member of the Trinity, then who is Jesus? And so that's when we said, who is Jesus to me? If I do not have to bow down, then how do I relate? How do I approach? Like, what is my behavior? Like, I don't know what to do. If Jesus is not God, I don't know what to do. And so we spent some time talking about how we would do the very same thing that we would do with our colleagues. We would do the very same thing that we would do with our coworkers. We would do the very same thing that we would do with those people that we share movement spaces with. We dream together. We scheme together. We strategize together. We collaborate together. We partner together. We really put our heads together, our whole bodies together to figure out what the next step is on the journey toward collective liberation. And so whatever that looks like for you in your context, when you call a person, oh my goodness, I need to call some people together. We're supposed to be organizing some. Michelle and Cece, I got to call y'all. I got to get us together. Whatever it is that you do in your context to say, we have come for this purpose. We believe that we have something in our minds that will actually make a difference and directly impact the lives of people in a way that will change them for the better, that is sustainable. And now let's get to work to make that happen. So then that is how we relate to Jesus now, rather than bowing down to worship. And then the next move from there is, okay, well then if giving Jesus back his name as revolutionary, and then allowing me to no longer have to worship Jesus, but recognize Jesus as partner, then who am I to Jesus? Like, now I know that Jesus is my partner, but who am I to Jesus? Because before, with the trappings, then we were Jesus's slave. We were Jesus's sinner. And so we were always coming to Jesus to bow down because we need Jesus to empower us every single day to be the person that we believe we're supposed to be, or we believe Jesus said, because Jesus is God, that we're supposed to be. And so if I remove that aspect of it, the worship aspect, the God aspect, then that means I am no longer slave. I am no longer servant. I no longer have to bow down to worship. Then who does that make me to Jesus? And this is where I really do believe we can use the word friend. Yeah. Again, friend is a word that I do not use loosely. I do not believe a person is my friend just because we connected on Facebook. I don't believe a person is my friend because I was introduced to them last week. I don't think a person is my friend because we go to the same church. I don't think a person is my friend because we've had a couple of dinners together. I don't believe that. I believe a person is my friend because time together has allowed us to weather the storms of friendship, that we've had some great conversations and some not so great conversations. We've had some high experiences together and some low experiences together. We've had some opportunities to get downright upset with each other. We might even have said a cuss word. And so, but yet and still, we have found our way back to each other through it all, because there's something about the chemistry between us, something about the connection that says, I want to be on the journey with you wherever it takes us. And again, I'm talking about friendship. I'm not talking about in love with somebody romantically. I'm saying friendship, that I want to know you. I want to hear your story. I want to share stories. I want to come to the wedding. I want to be with your oh, this is the inside thing where you have to ring that bell. So we talk about this in the circles that I'm in. Sometimes you are in conversation, and the conversation begins to dissolve in such a way that somebody needs to ring a bell so that we can reset this thing. Somebody needs to ring a bell to remind us, hey, we love each other. Somebody needs to ring a bell and say, look, let's just stop talking about that and let's move on to something else. Phyllis Brown laughing at me. Yes, we have rung a bell. I got my bell. Where's my bell? I think I got it right here. I think I got my bell. Yes, I think I got my bell right here. Here go my bell. Wait. I need to put it down. Yes, I keep my bell. You got to ring that bell sometimes. And so then that is who I am to Jesus. So Jesus and I are friends. And so there are songs that you can sing. And one thing that I do like about this pursuit that we are on, it does challenge us to get rid of the trappings, but it also gives us an opportunity to say that there are some things about what I have been taught. There are some things about what I have even been indoctrinated to believe that actually work for me. And so there are songs that I can sing about, I am a friend of God. And I'm okay with that phrase in the song. I am a friend of God. And if God, and then if you're still thinking about Jesus in that way, then you can be friends with Jesus, and that is okay. Call Jesus friend. That is absolutely fine. So then the next move that we made from saying, okay, Jesus does not have to be God. Jesus is revolutionary. Jesus is my partner, and we are friends. If that's the case, then that if I say that Jesus is not God, then that means I'm also removing the power that Jesus had over me, because I was praying to Jesus because he was the one with the power, and he would give me the power that I need for the day. So we would pray the Lord's Prayer, give me this day, give us this day what we need, right? So that we can be whoever we're called to be, so that we can be fed, so that we can help feed others, so that we can forgive others, so that we can be like, all of this was wrapped up in Jesus as God. So if Jesus is not God, then all of that power, what happens to it? Well, it transfers to us. It's our power. We had it the whole time. It's our power. And so what we talked about last week is, okay, you have power. And before you can talk about what to do with the power, do you even trust the vessel that holds the power? So we spent time talking about the fact that some of us are not in love with ourselves. We have been so busy loving Jesus. We've been so busy loving God. We've been so busy proclaiming to love people that we have not taken the time to love ourselves. We have not taken the time to examine ourselves. We have not taken the time to look at ourselves, to touch ourselves, to speak truth to ourselves, to affirm ourselves. We haven't done that work. And so we spent all of last week talking about that, the need to perhaps do a mirror exercise so that you can just look at yourself and love yourself and own who you are in the I said vessel, but in the body that you're in, like love your body. And some of us have experienced so much body shame and all of that we have not been able to do that work. And so now, believing that we have at least started to do that work, you might not be where you want to be. What's that phrase we say? I may not be. Oh, I don't know why I do stuff like that. I start the phrase and then I can't remember it. I may not be what I want to be, but I'm glad I'm not what I used to be. I may not be all that I should be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be, something like that. And so even if you're not exactly where you want to be in loving your full self the way that you are right now, looking in the mirror and saying, I love how I am right now. You may want to make some changes, but right now, this is who you are and you are okay with that. You may not be there fully, but at least you have started on that journey. So then now the question becomes, okay, if you trust the vessel that holds the power, then where is the power? Do you have the power? Because again, if we had given all of that power to Jesus and now Jesus no longer has it, then we have to say, okay, it shifts to us. Okay, well, did all the power shift to us? Or is there power out there somewhere that belongs to us that we need to reclaim? And that's what today's title is about. It's called the Reclamation Project. How do we reclaim the power that we have given not just to Jesus, but to a whole bunch of other people and entities and ideas and theologies and ideologies, all of that. And so that's what we're talking about tonight, reclaiming that power and taking some time to just really think through where that power is. Because once you trust that your body is worthy, is valuable as a vessel that can hold power. I'm talking about life-changing power. I'm talking about world-transforming power. I'm talking about system dismantling power. If you believe that your body holds that or can hold that kind of power, then you need to make sure that you've got all the power. You got to harness all the power that is yours, which means we got to go back and get the power from some folks who have taken it from us, some folks who have stolen it from us, some folks we have given it to. Some folks we've given it to voluntarily, some folks we've given it to involuntarily. So I want to take some time to walk through some of these places where we may or may not. This is my list, may not be your list at all, but this is my list of places where it is possible, highly possible. I'm like 99.9% sure that I have allowed that some of my power rests in these spaces. So the first space for me is the system of white inhumanity. So when we think about racism and capitalism and the way that it shows up globally across this world, we live in a world that is anti-melanated. Right? So the more melanin you have in your body, that part of your body, that aspect, that chemical, that makeup in your body that darkens your skin, that causes you to tan when you're in the sun. The more melanin you have in your body, then the more discrimination you face in this world. And because you face that kind of discrimination, then many of us have spent some time at odds with the color of our skin. We have wished for different skin. We have hoped for different skin. We've wondered about different skin. What would it be like to have lighter skin? What would it be like to have, most of the time it's lighter. I don't know too many people that wanted darker skin. I honestly wanted darker skin. Like, I want it to be the color of this sweater. Have you seen people that are like what folks call blue black? Like, wait, is that offensive? I just think I'm thinking of it as like, it's a really dark black. But like that, to me, they have the most beautiful, it's like soft and glowing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I want it to be so dark. So I'm not sure that that's a common experience where people want to be darker. But we have this faulty relationship with the color of our skin because the systems in this world, especially the system of racism and capitalism, racism being that the lighter you are, the more superior you are, the darker you are, the more inferior you are. And then capitalism that says, I want to commodify your body. And so I'm going to make money off of your body, but I only want to make money off of certain images of certain bodies, right? So I want to make money off of the thin, light, long hair, white, long hair, thin nose, thin lips. I want to make money off of those kinds of bodies. So I'm going to elevate you so that you're making money too. So you're going to be the actresses, you're going to be the actors, you're going to be the people that are on TV, you're going to be the heads of the companies. Like, I'm going to make sure that these bodies are the ones that are worthy of our financial resources. And along the way, you can make some money too. And so spending some time saying, okay, well, I've got to confront this system of white inhumanity that dares to tell me that the color of my skin is an obstacle for being human. That there's something wrong with the way that I entered this world, because I have no choice over the color of my skin. I have no choice over the color of the skin that I entered the world with. Yes, I know you can do some stuff with your skin these days. So you can tan, you can bleach, you can do all those things. But I'm talking about honoring the skin that you were enfleshed in, your spirit, as you entered into this story here on this planet Earth. And so having to confront that, to say, oh, and to say this too, right? Like, so I, as a Black person, a lot of times when I'm talking about melanated people, I'm talking about Black folks. I will say people of color as well. And so melanin, Black folks are not the only ones who have melanin, is the point that I'm trying to make. But depending on where you live in the world, the degree of melanin that you have is also the degree of discrimination that you face. So if you say, well, okay, when we're talking about the Palestinians and we're talking about the Israelis, well, the Palestinians would be the more melanated ones. And so those are the ones that will be discriminated against more. But then when you look at me up against the Palestinian, you would say, wait a minute, I've got more melanin, so I'm going to be discriminated more than they would. And so it depends on the degree of melanin, but it's nevertheless melanin that this world has a problem with. The world is anti-melanin, absolutely anti-Black. And so having to confront that system to say, wait, though for those of us who have internalized that racism and believe that our lives would be better if we could just get as close as possible to whiteness, if that means lightening my skin, if that means straightening my hair, if that means thinning my body, if that means thinning my lips. I don't think people do people thin their lip, whatever they do all kind of stuff. So if I have internalized that anti-melanin message, then I've got to confront this system so that I can reclaim that power, because there is absolutely nothing wrong with your skin, whatever the tone is. Absolutely nothing. And it is not a barrier to anything. Now, people may try to make it a barrier, but it is not. I'm not going to say it is not. Yes, absolutely, people construct barriers because of it, but we do not have to give in to that. We can stand firm on knowing that I am melanated, I am Black, and I am proud of it, and I'm going to knock down every door that you try to close in my face just because of that. Because there's no reason for me to be treated a certain kind of way just because my skin is darker. And so there is a space that many of us may have to go and reclaim our power, because we've internalized this idea that we've got to be as close to white as we can possibly get, whether it's the way that we talk, because we've been taught that too, whether it's the way, it's where we live, the car we drive, like all of that is a signal that we are complicit in this idea of anti-melanated, anti-Blackness. Another system where I feel like we may need to go and reclaim some power is the system I've heard people say this word. I don't see it a lot, but I've heard people say it: fat phobia. All right, this fear of being obese, this fear of being fat, this fear of being too big. And it's really interesting when we think about this, because now when we talk about obesity, we talk about it as a medical condition. We talk about, if you are obese, then you are at greater risk for high blood pressure, for diabetes, for other kinds of health concerns, health risks. And we talk about that. And I'm not going to say that that's not real. I'm not going to say that that's not real at all. What I am going to say is the way that we measure that is what's not real. When we talk about this BMI, this body mass index, when we talk about these charts that they show you at the doctor's office, the fact that you have to weigh every time that you go to what I was getting these blood transfusions. Well, I might have needed it for that. Let me see. I went one time because I used to have it was a cyst. It was some kind of cyst on my forehead, and I went to get it cut out, and I had to wait every time I went in. Like, why do I have to wait to get this cyst cut out? Like, what is the correlation between those two? Again, there are some services where you really need, your weight affects it. Your weight is going to affect the kind of medicine, all of that. But sometimes, what that got to do with anything? Nothing. But we keep people focused on their weight, and then we tell them, using this chart, that this is the weight that you should be if you are this age and if you are this height, not telling people that these charts are based on white youth. So it's unrealistic for you to say to a Black adult, whether you're male or female, a Black adult, that this is what you need to aspire to be. This is what you need to regulate your body to become, when it's unrealistic and it's rooted in racism to begin with. And so when we think about this merger of race science and medical science, so medical science being what the doctors have been taught based on the schooling that's around medicine and biology and anthropology and all those kinds of things, as opposed to those people who have studied science through the lens of race that says, well, wait, there is a certain kind of body that we want to generate, says race science, a certain body that we want to generate. So we're going to use eugenics. So we're going to use this notion that we can regulate population so that we highlight those characteristics that we think are inferior, and we figure out a way to cull those characteristics that we think are inferior so that we can create the best body, so that we can create the best population. So this is where we talk about the blonde hair and the blue eyes, all of that. And so when we talk about race science, then marrying medical science, then we come up with this idea that in order to be healthy, you must be beautiful. In order for you to be beautiful, you have to be healthy. And we say that and so we spend time trying to figure out, how can I be both healthy and beautiful at the same time, when these two sciences really don't go together. Let's see what Ruby is saying. My doctor had the nerve to tell me I was overweight. I told her, do you know how many years I had to wait in order to weigh enough to even give blood? Listen to Ruby. My doctor had the nerve to tell me I was overweight. I told her, do you know how many years I had to wait in order to weigh enough to even give blood? And you telling me I'm overweight? Have y'all seen Ruby? I think do you even weigh 110 soaking wet? You know, people be like, you weigh 150. Do you even weigh 110 soaking wet? Yes, because we have, especially beginning in the mid 18th century, we started talking about obesity, but we talked about it. The doctors began to talk, the race scientists began to talk about it in terms of women of color. And at the time, they were talking about Chinese women and some African women, some African tribes, saying that this idea that you have these round, rotund bellies, this idea that you are thicker than a Snicker is what I call it. 125. Ruby, I you ain't weigh no 150. 125 is how much you weigh, and they're telling you that you are overweight. So this idea that to have this much, to have more flesh on your body is something that is to be frowned upon, and it's something that is relegated to those women in particular. They always come for the women, women of color. And so again, this is this race science saying that we want a perfect kind of body that is less melanated and that is thinner. And so then we're going to create this narrative that we then filter into the mainstream, so that people are spending a lot of time trying to achieve a goal that is not realistic. I remember when the Barbie movie came out. I haven't seen it. Several people have told me it's not what I think it is. I really ought to give it a chance, and I need to go see it. I said I was going to go see it, and then something happened. Something else was more important. The Israeli-Palestine conversation was more important to me than going to see Barbie. But the first thing I thought about was, if you are Barbie, if you take the measurements from Barbie and you put them on a human right now today, that human could not live. The human the proportions of their body could not be sustained. You wouldn't be able to walk. Like, it's unrealistic. And so there are people, I watched Botched. I didn't have anything else to do one day, and I watched Botched. And it's this show about all the surgeries that people have, and they have gotten messed up for some reason or another. And so these two doctors are going to fix it if they can, or they're going to say, no, you don't need fixing, or we're not going to fix it, whatever it is. And there are people who are wanting to be Ken. They want to look like Ken. They want to look like Barbie. And so they're taking out ribs. And I'm like, what is that? This is not real. And so Ruby's asking the question, is it really true? Is what really true that they made up these charts? The charts are real. They just apply to white youth, and so they're not ours. BMI is a real thing, body mass index. It's just that the way that they use it to say if you have anything over 30, then you are obese. It's the way that they use it. When you begin to watch those documentaries that talk about, there's one that I've been watching right now that says you are what you eat. And they're taking these twins and they're changing their diet. And they're talking about, how, whether or not going vegan, all of these. So they're having these conversations about whether, and they're using twins because they have the closest genetics and the closest DNA. And so, they're talking about, the BMI. And so those particular doctors are like, that's not the measurement that I'm concerned about. Like, it's a real thing, but that's not the measurement that I'm talking about. So I must not be getting what Ruby tried to ask me, but is it really true? Is what really true? Because I'm saying the charts are true. BMI is a real thing. I'm just saying the way that we use it, the way that we weaponize it isn't true. So help me. I really want to answer your question, but I'm not sure that I'm following you. And so some of us need to go and regardless of what size you are. Think about Ruby. Ruby weighs 125 and her doctor is telling her you're too big. So whatever this system that tells you that your body is not good enough because you don't look a certain way, not honoring what your body was designed to be able to do. There are some of us who were designed to be curvy. There are some of us who were designed to have thick noses. There are some of us who were designed to have thick lips. There are some of us who were designed with more melanin. There's some of us whose hair is kinky. That is by design. And we should not try to alter that because this world says that you don't look the parts. Like, you don't look white enough. You don't look the European standard of beauty that we are, that is forced down our throats all the time. Oh, okay. So, so Ruby says the doctors can speak fact, but it doesn't mean it's truth. It's my point. Yeah, okay, so we agree with each other. The doctors can speak fact, but it doesn't mean it's truth, is your point. Yes. So when the doctors say BMI is a thing, yes, that is a fact. The way that it is you being used in your particular case may not be your truth. Absolutely. We're saying, I agree with you 100%. And so another system that I believe that we have to reclaim power from is the fashion industrial complex, right? So when we talk about the fat phobia, this idea that your body is too big, that means that if you believe that, you're going to spend a lot of time in this industrial complex that is all things fashion. So we're talking makeup, we're talking diets, we're talking gyms, we're talking hair products, we're talking skincare products, all of this money that we are spending. I think I read that, I don't know if it's globally or just in America. I want to say it was just in America, $66 billion a year in the fashion industry. That's what we're spending money on, all of these things, not just like makeup, but makeup and skincare and diets and gym memberships, like all of that. We are spending that much money because we are trying to achieve a certain goal that for many of us is not attainable because it's not our truth. It may be a fact that you can apply to somebody's life, but not ours. And so if we are spending that kind of money, if I can't go, one of the reasons I do not wear makeup today, unless I'm on stage, because I am a thespian. I do believe in community theater. I have been on stage plenty of times, unless I'm on stage, because it's a requirement when you're on stage because of the lights and all that. And I'm okay with that. But one of the reasons I do not wear makeup to this day is because my mother, when I was growing up, my mother would not walk out the door to check the mail or to pick up the newspaper if she didn't have her makeup on. And don't talk about going to the don't talk about getting in the car and going somewhere. Like, she just going outside of her own house. I was like, it will never be that serious for me. Have you all seen that? What movie was that? Was that Napoli Ever After with Sanaa Lathan, where she was with her lover in the bed and she would get up while he sleep and go fix her face and all of that. So when he wakes up and looks at her, she's got this full makeup on and she's looking. I'm like, really? Yes, really. People do that. So we've got to reclaim our power. I am not suggesting that makeup cannot enhance what you already have. I'm not saying that at all. But some of us are creating whole new faces. Like, I can't even find you because of all that cake that you got on your face. So I'm not anti-makeup. I'm anti the message that says you are less than without it. that is what I am against. Whatever you're doing to enhance, if that's what you feel like you need to do, absolutely, I've got no problem with it. I'm not going to speak out against it. But some of us need to reclaim our power from that system. We also have to reclaim our power from the system of sexism. How many of us as women in particular, oh, Ruby, I know you probably can relate to this. I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I think you can, where you have this personality that is no nonsense. You have a personality that is direct. You have a personality that says that I am going to operate in the spirit of excellence at all times in front of all people in all places, and it does not matter to me who I have to check to make sure that if you rolling with me, you rolling in that same spirit of excellence. And when you operate that way, when you are strong, when you are confident, when you are bold, then people call you a bitch because you're a woman. Now, if a man is strong and confident and bold and assertive, then he's just doing his job. But as a woman, the system of sexism says that we are not allowed to have those characteristics because they are less ladylike. They are not as feminine. And if we are emotional, that's the flip side of it. But if you're emotional, you're being too much like a woman. It must be that time of the month. So this system of sexism that we have internalized that makes us now believe that I got to make sure I'm not too emotional, make sure that if they don't see me angry, make sure that I don't come across as a bitch, make sure that I do whatever I can to hang with the boys, make sure that I can go along with the jokes, like all of this that we do to contort ourselves to fit into this model of what it means to live in a man's world. We need to reclaim our power because we don't have to do any of that. I am woman, hear me roar. And all of what it means to be Denise, because I'm not showing up saying, oh, Denise, I'm a woman. I'm Denise and I'm a woman, yes. And and that ain't got nothing to do with me doing this job. It doesn't qualify me for the job, nor does it disqualify me for the job. Right? And so we've got to reclaim this idea, reclaim our power so that we are not giving away parts of ourselves or checking them at the door because we don't want people to see the realness, the fullness of our femininity because it might offend the men, the boys club. Another place where I, in particular, have had to do a lot of work, another system where we have to reclaim power is this system of toxic masculinity. Oh, wait a minute. Ramen says, some females believe males should not be emotional as well. Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Ramen, because that's where I'm headed with this toxic masculinity. Some females believe males should not be emotional as well. I'm coming right to that in just a, I'm right there with you, Ramen, right there. Let me see. So here's Ruby. When people tell me I should act a certain way, I tell them my name is Jimmy Crack Corn, and they know the rest of the song. I don't know the rest of the. Is it have cuss words in it? I don't know the rest of the song. I'm gonna have to look it up I'll look it up before I go to bed. When people tell me I should act a certain way, I tell them my name is Jimmy Crack Corn, and they know the rest of the song. I'm gonna look that up because I don't know the song. And so going back to what Ramen said about how females believe a male should act, this is this system of toxic masculinity that I continue to have to do a lot of work in because I grew up in an environment where the man is the head of the household. The man has the last word. Whatever the man says, he is in control and he runs everything. And we are supposed to, whatever he says, we are supposed to do. Like this is his domain. This is his kingdom. And he is strong and he is well able to handle whatever it is. And so we're going to be protected. We're going to be provided for. We're going to be all of that. So for me, the look of a good man was a man who was strong, was a man who never cried, was a man who did not show emotions, was a man who never broke down, because how you going to be strong and protect us if you over here crying? That is me complicit in this system of toxic masculinity. So when I met a lover and he cried in front of me, I was like, I didn't say it to him, but I called my cousin. I was like, I use some words that are not very flattering at all. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this because I ain't used to no man and crying. That's what I said. I really did say that. Ruby says, I love emotional men. That is your strength. I love emotional men. That is your strength. I am much further along than I was, but I don't know if I'm all the way there yet, but I'm much further along. And so, yes, I used to say things like, I need a man who know how to tell me to get somewhere and sit down. Like, what are you saying? Like, what I was saying was, I need a man who is prone to violence, a man who can snatch me up if he needs to. Like, this is what I was saying, because I was given that picture. I grew up in that picture. All of my uncles, all of my cousins, like, that is how they roll. And so that is what I thought. And so now I have this idea that a man is supposed to look a certain way that is strong, a certain way that is not emotional, a certain way where you do not cry, that you don't have any, you don't break down no matter what happens. I don't care if your daughter is killed, you should still be able to suck it up and don't let them see you cry. And that is so not true. Oh, Jimmy crack corn, and I don't care. I'm still gonna look up the song because I don't know the song. And so we have this system of toxic masculinity. So what I did find myself, I dated all these men who were strong on the outside, but they were emotionally unavailable to me, to the point where now I'm swinging in the other direction. And I'm like, I don't even want you to tell me you love me. I don't even want to hear it. I want somebody who's going to care for me. Like, I want somebody who's going to be sensitive to my needs. Like, that's where I am now. Like, all of that does not work. And so the system of toxic masculinity does not allow us to allow men to be their full selves and experience every emotion that all of us should be able to experience. And it causes us to emasculate sensitivity. So if a man is sensitive, he must be gay. We say things like that. And so we're going to have to claim our power from that. So we do not teach our children, especially our little boys and especially our little Black boys, that you can't cry, man up. We have to stop doing that. We are giving away power to this system that we need so that we can change the world. Because remember, that's what this is about. We are reclaiming our power so that we can, he said, I'm still just now equating emotions with weakness. No. What I'm saying is that is what I have been complicit in. Like, I'm owning my complicity and I'm saying I cannot do this, right? Like, this is what we don't need to do. So we do not need to say to our children, to our young boys, that they cannot cry. There's nothing wrong with that. We do not want to continue to give power to this system that does not allow men to live into their full emotional spectrum of showing their feelings, nor should we make women feel like the man is less than if he doesn't. And nor should we as women think that we have to, so somebody got to be the man, right? And so now I got to be the strong one. I got to protect you. And then we reverse the roles. That's what we say. We're reversing the roles. No, none of that is true. All of us are emotional humans. Like, as humans, we are emotional, and it is okay to be emotional. Now, how do we manage those emotions? Now, that's a different conversation. So taking back the power from the system of toxic masculinity, that's a space that some of us need to be in as well. Also taking power, some of us need to reclaim power from the system of homophobia, especially when we're talking about Jesus, especially when we are talking about how people have weaponized the words that they find in the Bible, how people cherry pick verses from the Bible so that they can condemn a person to hell, particularly people who are same gender loving, also people who are transgender. We say things to these people, to people in our family, our human family. We say things to them in the name of Jesus as God, that Jesus does not love them. Jesus does not, unless you will not be loved unless. Same thing we say to people whose bodies are too thick. Same thing we say to people whose skin is too dark, that you cannot be acceptable unless you change who you are. And that is a system that we have got to reclaim power from, because I don't believe it at all. I believe that God, I'm not talking about God, your God loves you just the way that you are. We also have to, some of us need to go and reclaim our power from the system of capitalism. This system that says you got to work so hard so that you can make X number of dollars so that you can be considered successful. And then you need to demonstrate that success by driving this kind of car, by living in this kind of neighborhood, by having this kind of house. And so all of your humanity is spent trying to achieve this goal that's only possible with through economics, and I'm talking about tangible dollars, because it's really interesting to me how we talk about the work of women or men who stay at home. with the children, while the other partner, or two women or two men, I'm not trying to make this a heterosexual thing, but one person stays at home while the other person works outside of the home, and we put a dollar amount on what the person is doing outside of the home. But when it comes to what the person is doing inside the home, we act like that's not of value, because that person doesn't get paid a paycheck like you do working outside of the home. That somehow diminishes the work that they are doing, when one really could argue that the work that's being done at the home is far more strenuous and far more impactful and far more sustainable than the work we're doing outside of the home. And so this idea that all of our time needs to be spent achieving this goal of success so that we can spend all of this money to prove that we are successful, then we've got to claim our power from that. Because many of us are spending all of our time working outside of the home for somebody else, that we do not have the time to create and innovate for ourselves. Because many of us should be working for ourselves, and we can't because we're too busy working for somebody else, because we're striving towards the goals that capitalism has etched into our minds and conditioned us to believe that are not, I'm not going to say they're not real, they have a real impact on our lives, but it's a false narrative. So capitalism is a space where we absolutely have to reclaim our power. I also want to talk about, I had like 20 of them. And so I'm running out of time. So I'm trying to see which ones I want to say before I go. Patriarchy is another one that I want to say that we have to, some of us need to reclaim our power. And remember, this is my list, so I need to reclaim my power from patriarchy, the system of patriarchy, particularly as it relates to sex in this moment, particularly as it relates to sex. This idea that men are the only ones who are supposed to be experiencing the joys of sexual pleasure. And this idea that women are here, yes, it's a heteronormative, it's a heterosexist narrative, that women are here to please the man. So a woman's body, a woman's pleasure, that should not be on our minds. We should not be doing things that bring us pleasure. We should not even want to be seen as sexual beings. I don't know how many times I've had a man say to me, I want a lady in the street, but I want a freak in the bedroom. Like, what are you saying, sir? Do you hear the words coming out of your mouth? And so this idea that sexual pleasure is something that should be hidden and not embraced in the female body, in the feminine form, but it's absolutely positively okay for men. In fact, we say that we tell men, go out and sow your royal oats. We tell men, we sometimes men are the rites of passage, that you are given a sex worker when you are 16 years old. Like, all of these things that we do in the system of patriarchy that shape the idea that pleasure only belongs to the bodies that are labeled male. That is another system where we have to reclaim power so that we have the power that we need to transform the world. So it is 8:01. I'm 1 minute. I'm 1 minute beyond my time. Thank you for your grace and your patience with me. I'll be right back here next Tuesday talking more about how do we pursue this pure, raw Jesus that is unconstructed, that doesn't come with all of the trappings, so that we can be partners with Jesus to change the world so that we can have a world that we want to live in. All right. Thank you for joining me. Bye. Thanks, Ruby. I see you. Thank you.